It's a moment of seismic shift. There's incredible technological discoveries, scientific discoveries, the discovery of the atom, the invention of the X-ray, radiography, radiation. And this is a seismic shift in the way that artists and the broader populations look at the universe that we occupy. And both of these artists were really thinking about universal patterns and forces that underlie our world. They both start out as landscape painters in the early 1890s. And that's a really interesting point of intersection for their practices. But the point really of the show is to demonstrate that their close observations of nature and landscape in many ways shaped the radical abstract languages that they would go on to develop, each in their own distinct way. He starts to pull the vertical and the horizontal as the kind of basis of his painting, even when he's meditating on the form of the tree, where again he's starting to distill the tree to its kind of most fundamental rhythms, you know, the verticality of the base, the horizontality of the branches. And you really see him slowly start to pare down that language into the horizontals and verticals that we encounter in a work like this. There was still a lot of sexism in the academy, so it's not to say that, you know, this was without its challenges for her as a woman artist at that moment in time. And in some ways, I think, you know, joining a spiritualist context perhaps enabled her to move away from some of the conventions of representation and art making that she was trained in during her lifetime, because the paintings that she makes are absolutely radical and overturn everything that we know at that moment in terms of color, form, and scale.
So Mondrian and Klint are two of the powerhouses of abstract art, and therefore there's a lot that can be owed to these two masters of the form in terms of what modern and contemporary art became after them. So it's great to see the two paired together. However, the two never actually overlapped in time. So even though there are similar themes within their work, they weren't actually artists that communicated with each other, which is an interesting pairing for an exhibition to do. And it means that sometimes it doesn't quite work in terms of comparing the two together, even if it does allow both artists to show the full breadth of their skills. So abstract art can be difficult to gauge in terms of how popular it will be, but Klimt had a show in New York that was one of the most visited shows of the year a few years ago, and therefore there's clearly appeal for her work, especially as a female artist who maybe is underappreciated and someone who deals with spiritualism, which is a concept and a school that's really catching on in today's society.